All right. Welcome back to the 19th hole. This is going to be an amazing podcast here today. We are going to be inviting some guests, but the key thing that we're going to be talking about today on today's podcast is Full Swing. Full Swing is a Netflix documentary of the PGA, and Live Golf at this point in time. So I want to introduce one of my foremost guests here, bringing to the table here that I started this is with Greg, the Pinehurst Six. I saw him making some Instagram posts talking about Full Swing. I immediately wanted to talk about Full Swing, and I could tell Greg wanted to do more than his little 30 seconds. You can just see it chime in his videos. And I didn't want to sit there and text 1,000 little things and back and forth and just be a thread. What better yet than to get on here and to talk it through. However, you guys who have known me or have seen me, I can be long-winded. So I am bringing in the ultimate and the esteemed Barbara Bonds, who is the producer of this wildness behind for Duffers Review, putting this collab together. She is going to be moderating everything for us today and making sure that we stay on pace and that we don't get too guy-esque. And last but not least, the professor himself. You've seen him out here with me as a guest stuffer. Mr. Kendall will be joining us as well to get some insights. So, guys, everybody, welcome to the 19th hole. Pinehurst 6, Duffers Review. Barbara, let's get this thing started.
Let's go. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here today. I'm super excited to do this, and we're just going to get into it. Full Swing. It is a phenomenon. Everybody's watching it, whether you're a golfer or not. So what I want to do is let's just start talking about it. First things first, what does the show do for golf? Who wants to chime in? We'll start with you, David, because this is your show. So what is this doing for golf? And if any one of you have a conflicting thought about what the other one says, please chime in, because that's what we want. We want this to be a provocative conversation about what's happening in the world of golf these days.
I think it's well overdue. I think it is something that with the little social media bounty they had put out with, Koepka and DeChambeau's little banter. I thought it was all a hoax, but it was to try to do it. And then Tiger put one swing, on Instagram and broke the internet and won the social media award. This is where I think Full Swing really should have gone. I should have been watching them behind the scenes, everything. I think it's absolutely a need. I think for true golf fans, it's what we really want to see behind the scenes.
Greg, what are your thoughts? Because we brought you in from Pinehurst 6 because you've been talking about this. You've been reviewing this as it goes along. So what are your thoughts? What does this do to the future of golf? And what's the purpose of this?
Yeah, absolutely. Like David said, I think it's well overdue. We've seen the success of the Formula One documentary series, really bringing eyes to Formula One that no one had ever watched a race, and now they're following it every week. And that's what, we're hoping this happens for the PGA Tour, where it's just more eyeballs and they really dive into the human aspect and, just give them that extra layer where you're not just watching golf, you're watching personalities on TV. You're watching, when you watch Tony Finau, you think of his family. When you watch Joel Damon, you think of drinking White Claws. That's what this show hopefully will do for everyone. And that's what I'm hoping will move forward with golf.
I couldn't agree more. Actually, I love that. It made me feel like it was us on the course. Like the first episode with JT and Spieth, I was like, David and I was like yelling at each other on the golf course and just being really upset with the shots we hit, even when they're like 10 feet from the hole. And these guys can't do it on a regular basis. Why should we expect we could? And then to your point, Damon and Finau are probably my two favorites. Like Damon for sure. He's like, I suck. Like that was my favorite part of the whole thing. He just completely thinks he sucks. And then he's like, what could you be? Maybe a top 50, maybe if I get lucky. Like that's awesome to see. So I love it.
And that's really great. And we'll get deeper into that in a further episode. But I want to talk about the pilot, right? The pilot was really, it's called Frenemies. And they've been golfing against each other since they're 13. So talk to me about how important it is to have friendship on the course, but also know that it's competition. Like, did they play that out well? How does that play out in your life?
I'll kick this off because me and Kendall have a standing wager on who's better on any different day of the week. And I know in one of our Christmas reviews, you hear us going back and forth, and it started, some drinks in the course, everything like this. And he's like, I could beat you any day, on Sunday. I'm like, you couldn't beat me on your best day. And I feel like that's exactly when they're talking about it and they're on the plane, JT and Speed, you can just see it. Both of them love each other, but they both said it at some point in the episode of going, oh no, I want to beat him every single time. I want them to be successful, but I never want them to be successful against me. Right. And I think every duffer, out there, every time you step up to the tee box, you're like, I want to be the one who's going the lowest today, no matter what, no matter how, drunk you may get or something, the trash talking is always there. I think it's a must. I don't think golf would be as successful as it is without that frenemy relationship on a golf course.
I'm going to tie into what David said, and I agree with everything you said. You actually pretty much said everything I want to. I'll just finish it with, I'll be Spieth in our scenario and say, well, I won.
Yeah, you won, but ultimately JT wins. And so,
exactly.
The story is not finished yet.
There you go. It's very true. How about you? Because the truth is, Greg, your whole thing started because you're friends. You have the Pinehurst Six. You get together every year for a trip to golf. So how important is it for you to have the frenemies where, you're friends, you're getting together, but you want to beat everyone?
Yep, exactly. I mean, that's so we went on this trip for 6 years with no trophy, no anything, no leaderboard. We were just going down there to have fun. No competition. We were just down there having fun, golfing with some friends. And every year on the way home, we were thinking, who played the best out of all of us? Because we're all competitive. We all want to beat each other. And so we came up with a scoring system based on handicap. We added a trophy in the mix. And now every single time we see each other, we're saying, no, I'm taking the mink home this year, or I have no chance of taking the mink home this year, or at least I want to beat Brandon in the mink this year, So obviously competition is a huge thing. I can't go a single round on the course without having some sort of gambling going on, some sort of side game. We like to play the wolf. I don't know what you guys play, but we've got at least one game going on, depending on the group. Sometimes we've got 2 or 3 games going on at the same time. But yeah, we're always gambling or doing something competitive because it's not just enough to, shoot well. You want to beat your buddies. And like JT said, it's bad enough losing money, but the worst part is giving money to your friend, right?
100.
That's the worst part.
That's really great. And for in the vein of Full Swing, where they explain things, tell us, what do you mean when you say wolf?
So wolf is a game where there's a point system where the first person tees off, and so there's like a batting order type of thing, right? So the last person to tee off is the wolf. So first person tees off, and whoever's the wolf can decide after the tee shot, I want to partner up with you, or no, I want to wait. After the next person hits a shot, you can't choose the person who just hit, right? So if the third person hits and that shot sucks too, then all of a sudden you say, okay, I'm the lone wolf. And if you win the hole, you get 4 points if you're the lone wolf. If you pick a partner and you or the partner win the hole, you get 2 points. But if you pick a partner and you and your partner lose the hole to the other 2 guys, then those 2 guys get 3 points. If it's a tie, everyone gets 1 point, I believe. I'm going to mess up the scoring system now.
No, you got it. And I love this. I've played Long Wolf, but you always have to have the sober person keeping points.
Yep, exactly. It's a whole different scorecard. Like there's a scorecard to keep the
100%.
score, and there's a scorecard to keep Wolf, because you got to keep the batting order right. You got to keep everything else right, but it's worth it.
It's really fun. It brings up a kind of a unique point to, you asking about that is everybody, like for me, I can't stand not playing 18. If I start a round, I want to play 18. I think I've only twice in all that I've golfed have walked off a course not finishing 18 holes, because it's in you. It's like, let's go play 9. I'm like, I'll finish 9. I'll immediately want to play 9 more. Like it's not a full card. This doesn't count, And of course that 9 is, I'm shooting the best 9 ever. I have to go see what the second half is going to be. Like you have that, and all those little games make it like that much more fun to play. I mean, I've got multiple different ones. We'll have to do a separate little review on all the different games and stuff you can play on the golf course. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, which brings me to the next topic, which is gambling. Okay, gambling not only on the course, but off the course. We see a scene where the guys are on a private plane and they are these $1,000 if you can guess the card. Those are pretty high stakes. But I love how they bring gambling not only to the course, but to their lives. Tell me about gambling on and off the course.
Greg, I'm going to let you start on this one because you have a very passionate point on this.
I mean, you got 1 in 52 odds, and he guesses it twice, gets it wrong, and it's not like after the first one he's got 1 in 51 odds because Jordan shuffles the deck again. I mean, I don't understand. Also, I don't have thousands of dollars to just throw around like that. So maybe if I had their bankroll, I'd do it. But really, I just want to see their Venmo transactions back and forth because they got to be hilarious. But yeah, I mean, like I said, we are always gambling on the course, and even off the course, we're playing poker at the Airbnb after the rounds, or we're playing shuffleboard, and everyone throws in $20 for a shuffleboard tournament. I mean, if there's not a little skin in the game, we're not doing it really. So gambling is a way of life. For sure.
I want to know how he got him to take that bet. Like, I want to know the trick. How do I get someone to take a 1 in 52 bet for $1,000? Because I would take those odds.
Yeah, easily too.
You got it's called giggle money. When you watch some of the scenes of these guys playing, and they come off and they show what they took, for a round, you got to look at it. In gambling, to me, I mean, just to play in the PGA, I mean, I've watched some of these rounds where, one putt could be $1 million putt. It's the difference between taking 1.4 million home as the champion or your next starting place is, 500,000, right? It's like that I don't even know what that pressure is to stand over a putt, and go, if I miss this, I'm taking my family out of $1 million. Right. So to sit on a plane and make $1,000, pick a card, that to me goes back to like old school playing, pool with my buddy. We used to do that all the time. All right, $100 a ball. Let's go. It was fictitious. We were never playing at $100 a ball. I kind of look at that as hopefully that's a camera thing. Otherwise, that's just giggle money, and that's at a totally different level of gambling.
No.
So you don't think that they're actually, like, if he would have done it, you don't think that he would have paid him?
I think if that was Phil, 100%, because Phil would have pulled the money out of his pocket. Phil is the biggest gambler on any one of the two tours. And I think I heard an interview once where they were asking who carries the most money out, and every golfer out there said Phil. Phil always has the most cash on him.
I think that same interview they interviewed Shoffley right after because they're both from San Diego. And he goes, He goes, if Phil would play me every week, I wouldn't play on the PGA Tour because he's winning every single time. He's like, I won more money off Phil than I won in my last event.
Yeah, it's. I think that's the whole Frenemies, that episode. I took it away as it was kind of like, yep, $1,000 bet. Yeah, you're just doing it. Had the cash been out, I think the uproar even amongst here would have been like, are you kidding me? Like
Right.
1 in 52, like that would just have been so crazy insane. I think it was a great camera move, but even saying that at their level to me just shows they're playing in such a different field, and it's kind of one of those of where do you. I think overall, as you're watching through all the episodes, and we'll talk it, is I'd love to, if they would have asked the question, when did you feel like you arrived? Like when, because you hear such different contrast of like, if you don't make the cut, like you're not making any money, so it's to be at a level where, okay, I didn't make the cut today and you're still all right. Like you've arrived. You're at a different stage as a golfer.
Yeah, and that leads us to this next conversation. It's like, how does winning one tournament change their lives? Does it make it Does it make them famous, winning one? Or what does it take?
I think it depends on the tournament. Obviously winning a major, we saw it with Jordan Spieth. He won 3 in rapid succession. But, I mean, you get a couple majors or even one major, and all of a sudden Under Armour's throwing commercials at him, and he gets his own signature shoe for Under Armour. Yeah. So not only do you take home the $2.6 million for winning the Masters, but you're also just raking in these dollars from sponsorships and everything. And yeah, I know we're going to talk about this later, but I don't know how much that will happen with the Live guys. I don't think they're really hurting for money, but is it going to be the same thing? If you win a tournament, does anybody care sponsors wise?
No, that's why they're dropping sponsors left and right on that. I 100%. I agree. They announced it this week. Adidas dropped almost everybody on the Live Tour. And I'm not an Adidas fan, and I'll say that publicly. I'm a Nike diehard, so it was kind of like, wow, you're just dropping names. Their names are not even carrying it anymore.
But how do you feel about winning one tournament changing someone's life? I mean, I like what Greg had to say. Like, if you win a major, that could be life changing. But if you're winning some of the other ones, does that change someone's life?
Well, I mean, I agree with Greg on the sponsorships and the commercials and everything they're going to throw at you. But I think it's still life-changing to win one event because it's going to be over $1 million every single time. So these guys could be negative $200,000 by the time they get there. That changes everything. It takes a level of stress off of them that they've had for however many years they grind it out, right?
Yeah.
So to me, I think it's a huge impact on their life, and it changes their life for sure. Maybe not to fame quite yet, unless it's a major.
And the first episode here, I think, plays great when they talk about the U.S. Open. Like, are you going to win it? Are you not going to win it? It's JT. When Spieth won it, he's won. Going for a Grand Slam. You're right. I think what's unique in that very scenario is, Greg, you brought it up with Spieth. He went quick, 1, 2, 3, and then everyone threw the disclaimer on him. Oh, here comes the next Tiger. He's young. He's going to win. And then you see it in this episode, like, I can't figure out my game. It just fell apart. I didn't know what to do with it. You got JT, and that same thing. I personally think he lost because he was wearing those cuffed pants in all black or whatever that thing was going on. I think that was his curse. But as soon as he took that nonsense off, he started to win. So I think there are certain variables there. Because here's the reality of it. There's been a ton of PGA golfers that have won an event, right? Could you name them all?
No. Well, and to your point, there's two sides to that coin. As quickly as they become known, it's how quickly they're diminished by the same people that made them known. So, I mean, look at Ricky Fowler. Like, he's coming back around. They're all great golfers. So just because they go through a spell, like, this actually becomes reality to us, just average Joes, us Duffers out there. they all go through the same stuff. It's just a different level that they're going through it at. We're going through it down here. They're going through it up here. So they're all amazing athletes. So
let me ask you this, Barbara. Do you think it is I kind of call it the Tiger syndrome, right? Everyone has watched Tiger. All the golfers you're watching, you hear it, Spieth say it, you hear JT talk about it. They all put Tiger's name in their mouth. They watched him to drive them towards golf. However, Tiger was a phenom. He was winning. So everyone, when you hear this kind of flash, Spieth, and like, oh, is it going to be the next Tiger? I don't think we're ever going to see any particular golfer have a run until Charlie decides to go pro.
Right.
That's just my prediction. I don't think anyone's going to have that sustainability.
Any of the current golfers?
None.
Is that what you're talking about? I agree with that. I mean, John Rahm is on one right now, but and he's a phenomenal. Like I said, they're all phenomenal golfers, but those are
right.
Once every decade, once every 20 years, you get someone that does that.
Yeah, Tiger is in a league all of his own, right? Tiger is absolutely in a league where people really can't touch him. But what he did was introduce golf to a whole generation that might not have been in golf to begin with. I mean, I liken it to Hollywood. Like, if somebody's in a movie, one movie, does that make them a star? Not necessarily. What is the sustainability? But also, what is the story that you're telling that's going to bring other people to golf? Right? That's what Tiger did. Tiger not only was a phenom, Tiger was good for the business of golf and the future of golf. Yeah. Because all of a sudden you had kids that it was like cool and it was possible. And when something is cool and possible, they want to be a part of it. And I think that will forever be part of Tiger's legacy.
Well, I think something else that he did was, if you look at when he came on the scene, and you could argue the talent he was going against wasn't as good because they weren't in shape. So what he did was he brought athletes to the game, not guys that just drank beer and smoked cigarettes on the golf course and got paid to do it. But he actually got athletes to say, oh, well, I need to work out harder so I can be in better shape, so I'm mentally stable on the course so I can beat these guys. And like in one of the episodes, they're all in the gym. Yeah. After the round. Like half the tour's in there. The playing field is different now. Like for someone to run away, they will have to be a phenom.
That was going to be my next point. Is I could go back and remember Tiger playing forever. Can maybe name like 3 other golfers. I mean, like Phil Mickelson, like this and that. Today, kids don't just say Tiger anymore. And you see that. You hear them talking about JT, Ricky Fowler, Jordan Spieth, Tony Finau. Like, there are more names in golf, today. And the level of who could be there on any given Sunday is a major, difference. That's why I say I don't think you're going to see it. I don't think you're going to see this shake up what Full Swing I think is all about. Breaking, new barriers. You're going to have new names, obviously, because I mean, just watching golf in the last few weeks, I'm like, I don't even know who that guy is. Who is this? Who's in the top 10? I don't even know half of the names there. It's going to change. It is, I think Full Swing is a perfect prelude to us seeing not only new golf, but new rules, changes. I think I think you're going to see a ton of big changes, and this is the perfect time to be filming it.
And to that point, like it is garnering a whole audience, this audience that may not have been big golf fans before. And so it's all of a sudden, the average Joe or the person who wasn't necessarily into golf is learning more about the game of golf. But I have to say, one of my favorite scenes in the whole episode is when JT tried to go to CBS. And that was great because it humanized him. Like he's just like us. Like and yet not, because he doesn't know what to do in a CBS. right? So there's that. So let's talk about that moment. Did you guys enjoy that? Did you like that? Or was it like,
To me, that's one of those. I'm really curious, and this is where I hope somebody watches it. I'd love to get JT's perspective, on this, directly. Calling you out. I wanted you to answer our question directly. Is that moment where you almost become, you forgot where you came from? Like you get to a certain level of, you watch these guys, they show up from the airport, private plane, into somebody driving them here. Like they lose that break of the normal, until they're home with their family in their little bubble in Jupiter, Florida, where every other little family is another big super professional golfer. It's just seeing your people you see out on the golf course, right next door to you. So I loved it, because if you notice, when he's walking outside, he's holding cash in his hand.
Oh yeah, he never got that. He never got that card to work. Yeah, it may have been because all the money's gone and it's in Speed's pocket from all those cards he was pulling.
Yeah, those Venmo transactions finally came through. He didn't realize it.
does that open it up to other people? Like, oh, these guys are, yes, there was the disconnection of like, we go to a CVS and we know what to do, and he doesn't. There was absolutely that. But I do believe ultimately what Full Swing is doing is opening up golf. Yes, golfers are going to eat it up, but non-golfers are really understanding the game because there's great explanation and really rooting for these guys. And that's really what I think is the magic behind this series. And so let's talk about that. Like, what do you think? Like, your critique of the purpose of the series and what it's doing to the audience at large.
So here's a great behind the scene question we had talked about before. I was able to get into the conversation with my wife on different scenes and stuff like this, and it was totally different perspectives of like how they're looking at it. I felt like think of the Kardashians, or remember back to the MTV when everyone had to live together. It was this, or Big Brother, right? It was this weird behind the scenes thing that people gravitated to. Not the sitcom. It was like, I can watch what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know what they're going to say. You don't know what they're going to do. And this is where I think Full Swing has grabbed that, is all of a sudden you're getting this prestige that the PGA puts on when you're watching a tournament. It's a very nice golf swing, immediately cut away to the ball. So you don't get to see that son of a bitch, right? Moment of a bad swing in their eyes. They're already watching a ball flight, and they're already talking downstream, or they've already cut to the next golfer. The moment I realized this was going to be so awesome was watching one of the majors online. And I happened to be watching it on like masters.com or something, where it was like, follow your featured group. And that was the first, like, oh my God, I get to watch Tiger walk up the fairway. He's talking to his caddy. You're literally listening to the behind the scene conversations. You couldn't have got me to CBS. Like, that was more interesting to me, because you then got to hear that, oh, Tiger talking to himself, like, bad shot. Like, it was so interesting watching it in that format, where I think this is going to be so successful.
I agree with that 100%. Like, my wife was sitting there, and normally she'll like pass out if I'm watching something she doesn't want to watch. And she's like, she was half paying attention, which is like a win, right? Someone that would never even touch a golf club or watch a golf tournament. She was like, did he just yell at himself in like the third person? I was like, yeah. He did. I'm like, he sounds like us on the golf course. So that side of it, I agree 100%. That's the best. To me, that's the most entertaining part, because you don't get to see it. I've been to golf tournaments, so I've seen it live. And it just was reality that they don't show any of the bad shots on TV ever. It's just them making putts, holding chips, pounding drives. Like, maybe you see a drive go into the trees. Okay. Into the water, but they're like, when someone shanks a shot, it's rare that you get that on film or they show it, except for that one when the two guys did it off the same tee. I don't even remember what term that was a couple years ago. That was awesome. I was like, that guy literally just shanked it. And then the next guy went up and did it again.
I almost feel like there's a weird contract or something, like you can't bash me on TV.
Yeah.
I'm going to golf in your tour, but you can't show a bunch of stuff until you become like, Tiger S. Like, oh, dude, like whether he's playing bad or whether he's playing good, they're going to show it because they know that's what people want to see.
Well, yeah, they showed Tiger top one that one time. So I had to rewind it. I blanked. I was like, did he just top that?
Yeah, I agree. I think they're bringing in the human aspect of all these guys, and it's just making it more interesting when we do turn on a golf tournament, because you're not just watching a golf tournament now, right? You're watching personalities. And I love seeing all the behind the scenes stuff like David was talking about. I mean, I love watching everybody work out, because I'm sure we've all seen the Instagram reels where it's like golfers workouts and the guy's got like a 10-pound dumbbell and he acts like he's cracking a beer, and that's the workout for golfers. Like, no,
that's
like,
we're
actually athletes. We have legit workouts. We need to talk to Jordan Spieth about wearing a damn golf polo to the gym. I know you packed another shirt, change into the shirt before you go to the gym. But other than that, like, I love watching all that stuff. I love seeing behind the scenes. I think the show does a great job of it.
It's stringers.
And also, it is the journey. Did you guys get emotional when JT finally won? It was like they took you on an emotional journey with them, and I think they did that really well.
100%. Yeah.
I liked it was that father moment, right? When he talks about when his father is speaking and going, it's so hard to be a coach and yet have to still be a dad. And it was to see that dynamic playing directly together, in that perspective. That's where the emotion was. And I think that they got the hook in me. Wasn't that when he won, it is when they panned over to his caddy and his dad. And it was just like, because you as you said, they build up that, the behind the scene. Oh, I don't like that shot. He's immediately out on the range, doing the professor over here, pulling out every little gadget to record and look at this. I need to move my hand slightly this way. I don't like the way that feels. And there's dad with the iPad. Let me get that shot for you. And it's a very weird dynamic, because I put that to my own relationship. My dad wouldn't be out there doing that for me, so it was definitely emotional from that pull, that shoestring.
I'm going to go on like a little, it's probably a little sidetracker, because I didn't connect with JT like I did some of the others in the other episodes, because to me, he seems like the privileged golfer that had it given to him every step of the way, because his dad, they're all pros. So he had access to anything he wanted. Whereas I look at Fee now and go, that's my boy, because he was sitting into a mattress in the garage with one club and probably used golf balls that they picked off the course. So that like, and I know we're not talking about him yet, but that to me changed my whole perspective of Fee now. So like JT, I'm like, yeah, you're good, but you had every opportunity to be good.
Right. And that's a great perspective, because it's like, and that's what people know about golf. It's the privileged few play golf, and so privileged that he doesn't know how to be in CVS, getting back to that. So
Case in point.
Yes, case in point. Yeah. And so I get that. And yes, it's okay to, like Tony, when we get to that discussion, and if you haven't seen that episode, you have to see it, because that is like kicking and crawling and really wanting this more than anything. And we'll definitely get to that.
Not just for him, but his entire family. Yeah.
And his story is amazing, and we'll, stay tuned for that episode, because we're definitely going to dig into that. What are some final thoughts on this pilot episode of this show?
Definitely made me want to keep watching it.
Yeah.
I love the Frenemies thing. I played high school golf, and I would do anything to have the relationship of Jordan and JT on the PGA Tour. We still kind of have it with this trip. I think 3 of the 4 guys that were on my golf team when I graduated are going on the trip this year. And so we have that to an extent, but when they're talking about, well, I've got 3 majors to your 2 kind of thing, that's awesome. I think that's really cool, going from, kids at 13 years old, seeing who can eat the most Big Macs in one sitting to, who can win the most majors in your career. It's great. It's great to see.
That's definitely one of the things that kind of drove me to go, all right, I see, like, Barbara went and binged the whole thing. Like, she was like, I got hooked, binged the whole thing. And she came back and told me I binged the whole thing. I'm like, oh, wow, you've actually beat me through all the episodes.
I said the same thing to you.
Yeah, I was like, the hook for me was that, like, JT shanking that shot, right, to still come back and win. But in that same turn, watching, Mito Piera just milk. He won a hole through that whole tournament.
Yeah.
And for him standing on that tee box, that was the weirdest swing through I've ever seen. And him immediately go, I think I just threw this tournament. And every golfer around here knows, if you don't have that mental capacity, between the ears to walk it off in 10 steps. I think that's Tiger's mantra. You can be mad about it for 10 steps. And then after that, it's the next shot. He could have rebounded. He could have come. I mean, he had, like, what was it, 4 strokes almost? 3 strokes? He turned and let everybody else back into that tournament on the 18th hole. So that right there was like, oh my God, where is this going to go? Because he wasn't even, like, the whole thing was JT and Spieth, yet you showed this poor golfer completely self-destruct. And it was like, what's the next episode going to be? Who are you gonna rain down on now? Like, it was just
Par won that. So on that particular hole, if he got par, he would have won. But you're right. His first 10 steps, if he would have cleared that mechanism and said, where's the best spot to get up and down from?
Right.
To win the tournament. I mean, he hit 2 or 3 bad shots there. It wasn't like,
oh.
So you're right. It was between his ears, because he didn't miss by much on the green. It was a good spot to miss. The next shot's the problem. Like, the third shot was the biggest problem.
I don't coming up over the one side, back to the other side. It was just one of those that you're just like, and we've all watched those different tournaments, like, where we just watched. I think it was, I can't really go from, but like 6-putt. It was like, dude, you just made Instagram for the next entire week 1,000 times over. 100 of us are making memes on you. We're going to take this shot. We're tagging every last one of our buddies and Duffers on this, because you walked up at a pro level and didn't step off, and you did what every Duffer did, and just shanked the ball back and forth, left and right around, in that perspective.
I wish they would show more of that, like, not to go on another tangent, but like Kevin Na on that one, I'm sure you guys have seen it, where he gets like a 14 because he goes in the woods and goes, I can hit it from here. And he stays in the woods. And he goes, I can hit it from here. And he stays in the woods, and he finally, like, 6 shots later, gets it out. And then he hits like the miraculous 230-yard shot to like 5 feet, and then makes the putt for a 14. Like, I want more of that.
But again, in my head, and I don't know if it's just the math in me, I'm going, dude, you're swinging $30,000 swings. Like that swing, that 14 just took you from, like, so much money of a loss. That's what has me, going so much more excited for each and every last one of these next episodes. So
awesome.
I'm loving it. Barbara, I'll let you take it home here.
This is great, guys. So if you haven't watched it yet, Full Swing, go watch it. Come back and comment on what your thoughts are. But if you have watched it and you agree or disagree with us, let us know. And we will see you on our next episode, because we're coming back. We're going to do a review of all 8 episodes. And so stay tuned and come on back. And thank you, gentlemen. This was awesome. And we'll see you on the next one.
Yep. Thanks. See you next time.
Awesome. Next episode, let's talk about it.